Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. I have a channel for marriage-minded men. I hope you haven't given up on married life. I almost did about 10 years ago, and I've been alone a long time. But I did find a woman in the Philippines, been married 10 years. I like talking about relationships and making videos about that. So hopefully you want to learn about this and you haven't given up on getting married. We're talking about ways to know who is getting the upper hand in a relationship. And there shouldn't be somebody to get an upper hand in a relationship. I've been married 10 years, and so I can relate to these topics we'll have here in 2 or 3 videos. This comes from yahoo.com, and they've got 15 ways to know who's got the upper hand. And let's see, this is written by, I should mention that again, Georgia McCartney. I don't think I referenced her the first time. So let's dig into this. Ways to know if you're being controlled. Keep an eye on this. From the article, they always win the arguments. They always win the arguments, and there will be arguments. From the article, if disagreements always seem to end with your partner winning, quotation marks, it's a sign that they might have the upper hand. Healthy arguments should be about resolution and understanding, not victory. I'll add, because when there's a victor, there's a loser. When one person constantly comes out on top, it can leave the other feeling unheard or undervalued. Effective communication is a cornerstone of a healthy partnership and should involve active listening and compromise. Over time, consistently losing arguments can lead to feelings of resentment and inadequacy. You may start to feel like your thoughts and feelings don't matter, reducing your willingness to engage in future discussions. So much can be said about this area here, winning arguments. I mean, some people don't like to lose. They're competitive, and that may come down to their home life, where they feel like if they really believe they're right, they have to win that argument at home. And you have to think about how that's going to make your wife, if you're married, how that makes her feel. If she constantly feels like she's losing, she may not desire to contribute her thoughts and opinions and experiences with you, or just stop talking to you. Some because she doesn't want to be told that she's always wrong or she did wrong. You should know what's going on in your relationship, as she should feel that the relationship is healthy enough that if you engage in some kind of a argument or discussion, even if it gets heated, that she can be talking to someone who will be quiet, listen, learn before he speaks, and always want both of them to be winners so that there are no losers. So in marriage, you have to be a companion and not a competitor, and arguing can lead to unhealthy competition. Number 5, a sign of control or who has the upper hand, they demand constant attention. If your partner requires a constant spotlight, it could be a sign of an unequal dynamic. Their need for attention might overshadow your own needs and desires, creating an imbalance. As highlighted by the Gottman Institute, healthy relationships require giving and receiving attention, not just one-sided admiration. If you find yourself giving more emotional energy than you receive, that may be a sign that someone has an upper hand. This incessant demand for attention can leave you emotionally drained and unsatisfied, and your own needs and desires may get lost in the mix, leading to a lack of fulfillment. Relationships should be a two-way street where both partners feel valued and appreciated. If you're constantly feeding your partner's need for attention without receiving the same in return, definitely it's an area worth addressing. Constant attention. This isn't one I can really relate to in my marriage. Because my wife is working, I'm not. If I feel like we need to go and do something or need more attention, I'll just say so, because that's just being practical. So needs and desires, focus on their needs and desires and let them know that, don't be afraid to say you have needs and desires and interests, and talk about how important it is to both be helping each other, because you're still two individuals that are married. You just have to blend your lives together so it can still be fulfilling, and go into the marriage expecting to be giving attention to the other person. And if both people do that, then, well, they're just more likely to have a successful marriage. Number 6, they rarely compromise. Oh, this is a big one here. Who has the upper hand? Someone, that rarely compromises is trying to get the upper hand. When compromise is one-sided, from the article, it can reveal an imbalance in the relationship. If your partner is unwilling to meet halfway, it could be a sign they hold more power. Healthy relationships, though, require negotiation and flexibility. It's a learned skill, I'll say. A lack of compromise can lead to one partner feeling consistently shortchanged and undervalued. You might find that you're always the one bending to accommodate their preferences. This can breed resentment and dissatisfaction over time. In a balanced relationship, both partners should feel their needs are being addressed. If compromise seems like a foreign concept to your partner, it's time to have a serious discussion about fairness. Rarely compromising. I try to make that easy and just try to defer to my wife. I said that to her before we got married. I've said that to everybody. I don't want to be arguing about dumb things. I'll try to compromise as much as I can and not be demanding about what I want to do. And then if she wants to do something, I'll try to fit myself into that. And it usually works out really good because I do things that I've never done before, haven't been exposed to, and it's always a good thing. So it takes two to argue, by the way. One person can't argue by themselves. And also the Bible says that with pride comes contention. And so if you have a lot of pride, you might find it harder to compromise with your partner, but try it. It's a good thing. And number 7, the last one here in this video about somebody having the upper hand or control, is keeping score. I've made a few videos on this. Keeping track of who did what can be a subtle way to maintain control. If your partner frequently reminds you of past favors or mistakes, it might be their way of holding power. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual support and understanding, not a tally of rights and wrongs. A partner who keeps score may be more focused on control than collaboration. Now, I don't know if I'm guilty of this or not. There are times I do bring up the good things I've done, but they're not in an effort to get something in return for my wife. It's just to remind her of how I love her. I did this because I loved her. I did that because I loved her. I was willing to sacrifice something else because I loved her. Because if you aren't doing things that show love, then you probably aren't loving. Because love isn't just, well, I feel love for you, It's in showing it with the things that you do. But if it's like, hey, you owe me something, if it's tit for tat, then keeping score is just not a relationship. Because I think in a relationship, there are always going to be times when you may have to do more giving than receiving. And in turn, there may be instances, periods of time, she's going to have to do more giving than receiving. So it's an ebb and a flow. It should never be, what I call halvesies, playing halvesies. So don't keep score in a relationship, because that'll be you trying to get the upper hand or exercise control. We'll have to make another video or two on this, because these are really good to avoid getting in a position of controlling your spouse, because then they could look for somebody that isn't going to control them. So it's very important. Leave a comment here about your thoughts on control here on Love Beyond the Sea.